us.
Thanks for having me.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Hannah Holzer, and I'm a journalist at the Sacramento Bee. And I also recently wrote a children's book called The Kid Reporter Field Guide.
Cool. How did you become a journalist?
That's a very good question. Well, I was always good and enjoyed writing, but I never knew that I wanted to be a journalist until my sister, who's 4 years older than me, started being involved in our journalism program at our high school.
Mhm.
And she really enjoyed it. And I was sort of a copycat. I don't know if you have an older sibling that you copy, but I definitely did that. And since she enjoyed it so much, I decided to copy her, and I just really liked it. I just felt like I found my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved interviewing people. I loved writing. I really liked people reading my stories and talking to me about them and sort of starting discussions on campus about different topics I was interested in. And so that's how I became a journalist. And then from there, I pursued it in college. I went to UC Davis. And so I was a student journalist there, and now I'm a professional journalist.
Nice. Um, how many interviews do you think you've done?
Oof, that is a hard question. I think I have if I had to guess, probably 400. Ranging from 5 minutes to over an hour. So definitely a lot of interviews.
That's a lot. Who's the most interesting person you think you've interviewed?
Well, the most famous person I've interviewed is the singer Pink. I got to interview her when I was in college, which was very cool. But I think two people come to mind when I hear interesting. Not that she wasn't interesting, she was very interesting. But the two people I'm thinking of, one is Professor Christopher Nichols, who teaches American history at Oregon State University, and a woman named Nicole Meldal, who is a historian in San Francisco. And I think they were so interesting to me because not only were they experts in their subject matter of American history and San Francisco history, they were also able to talk about history and teach me, and therefore teach my readers about history in a way that was so relevant to today. And they made such articulate points and really challenged my notions of different topics or concepts that I thought I knew a little bit about, but they really broadened them for me. So that was a time where I felt so lucky to be a journalist because I get to learn just as much as my readers do.
Yeah. What has been your favorite report or piece you've written?
Oh, another good question. One of my favorite pieces, I think because I worked so hard on it and then felt so proud of it, was when I was a student journalist at UC Davis. I wrote a story about the accessibility and availability of mental health services. So students who were struggling, maybe they were stressed about deadlines or had different things going on in their personal lives and wanted to talk to counselors on campus, were having a really hard time getting appointments. And so I did an investigation into why it was so difficult for students to get appointments. And what I ended up finding out was that the university had basically misspent $250,000 that was meant to be hiring counselors. And so there was just a huge response on campus. There was a town hall. The chancellor decided to organize a task force. And so I really felt like I spent a long time on the story. I was so emotionally invested in it. And it really created a discussion on campus that just was so gratifying and affirming of all of my work. Yeah.
How long does it normally take you to write one of those articles?
So it really varies. In my current job, I write opinion columns, and typically it will take between a few hours to maybe a day or
Mm-hmm.
so to write a column. But if I'm doing one of those longer investigations, like the one that I mentioned, that one probably took me a year, definitely more than 6 months. So I was glad to see it finally published and done.
What does it feel like to have a book published?
It feels really surreal. I think I always felt like perhaps I would write a book later on in my career when I was older
Mm-hmm.
and wiser. Um, and to me, it just seemed like a big feat that would take a long
Mm-hmm.
time. And I never considered writing a children's book. It was really just an opportunity that was asked of me. And at first, I didn't know if I would be a good children's book author. It's been a while since I have been 12 years old. Um, and I went to the library and read children's books to get sort of a sense of how they're written.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's published, it's just been really magical. It's really been just all around a great, very positive opportunity.
Nice. Uh, are there any other books you're working on or like writing?
Not at the moment. My mom really wants me to write a book about our dog, and how she was switched up at daycare for another dog, and we took the wrong dog home. But that might be a work in progress for a later date.
Yeah. Um, those are all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to say?
Hmm. I guess one last thing I would say is thank you for being a great interviewer. And also, I just really encourage you and people your age to read as much as possible, to be curious, to ask questions, because you should, I think, strive to be lifelong learners. So, learning doesn't stop when you graduate elementary school or high school or college. I think the best part about being a journalist is just always being curious and not being expected to be an expert of all things. I say I don't know all the time, and I get to just have my question hat on all the time. And so, yeah, I would just say ask questions as much as you can and learn as much as possible.
Cool. It's great that you could stop by. Thanks for meeting us.
Thank you.